So we don't know when it happened.
So there was new guidance on taxiway naming that was printed. It's 5 years old now. So technically, I think if we were to do it new today, if this section is called Charlie, this would be Charlie 1, this would be Charlie 2.
Okay.
And Bravo would just be from here back to here.
Yes.
So
If we were starting fresh, that's what we would do. Now, you're not required, you're not compelled to go change nomenclature
okay.
unless there's been confusion or unless one of these is designated as a hotspot, like a high energy, which I don't think you have any hotspots or high energy locations. But
Well, and 523 is the prevailing runway. That's what you use, 80% of the time. But who determines?
But the charts should match what's marked in the field, so that a transient who looks at it on a chart and gets to the airfield has the same expectation. So if it's a matter of changing a sign panel, that's probably the easiest thing to do.
Okay, so you can get with Luke on that, and y'all
Yeah,
can.
if you'll send me some photos.
The panels are about $200 a piece through LumaCurve.
Yeah, you see, it's not, you gotta wait for them, it's usually long lead items, but they're not horribly expensive to replace a panel or two.
Okay.
But if we're gonna replace them, we should get the naming right.
Definitely.
Well, like Scott says,
The time to update naming is when you're buying replacement panels.
Right.
is the placarding in the field correct? Or
Ms. Jefferson.
the FAA, what about FAA charting?
The FAA charting shows it as both of those, as everything is Charlie, except the taxiway going out to the runway is Bravo.
They show this as Bravo.
Yes, sir.
So FAA charting matches what's in the field?
No. He's saying this is marked as Bravo.
That's marked as Bravo.
Yeah.
Oh,
It should be Charlie 2. My suggestion is if we're gonna endeavor to bring this up to date, we should do two things. Buy the right sign panels to make this Charlie 1, the 90-degree connector. This should be Charlie 2. They no longer like the mainline parallel taxiway being named the same as any connector. So you go Charlie 1, 2, 3, et cetera. And then once we do that, then we enter a chart supplement change to get them to change the airport diagram to match Charlie 1, Charlie 2.
The signs are in great need of updating as far as just the wear on
Age.
the aging. Yeah, the coloration is disappearing.
But that might be something, let me just work directly with Luke to figure out what we have and what we need to order. And then I think it's getting the airport diagram changed. It's not a quick process, but it's relatively straightforward to just contact the Orlando office and make a request to them, and they'll route it through the change procedure.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, anything else? Okay, if the board doesn't object, I'm on that cycle again where I have meetings tomorrow in South Florida. So I'd like to get to Sarasota before I sleep, if that's all right. So I'll wait for Miss Whitney's DOT report. And just in case she says they found money. Probably not, but we can be optimistic, right? And then I'll slip out if that's okay.
Sleep's overrated, but
Is it? The thing is, it's gonna happen though, one way or the other. I always desire to get.
Regardless of the
pillow.
rating.
Before it happens, I like to be on the pillow, so.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Mr. Prang. We appreciate it. All right, moving on to FDOT, Ms. Whitney. Not the answer we were looking for, not the response. And Ms. Whitney, that was finalized. Kyle's email said March 10th at 10 a.m. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you don't have a big pot of money up there that you can divvy out? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Whitney. Moving on to a couple of items that I had. The MOS workshop, we need to reschedule that. I apologize. I was sick the day of when we were supposed to have it last month. So what we had provided to the board was responses to Mr. Dagenet's questions that he had submitted with respect to the MOS. So those are incorporated in that document and highlighted in yellow. And so there's just actually 3 other items that we need to talk about. So if you'll get your calendars out and let's see if we can nail this thing down. And I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to wrap this thing up at the next workshop. And we'll have this final draft available. So anybody have any particular days? I know, Scott, you're involved with Clay County Commissioner meetings.
Yeah, Tuesday's bad.
Tuesdays are not good. Do we want to shoot for one day next week? Is that doable?
I would like to, yes, I would like to land that plane.
Let's land that plane as soon as we can. So how about, we've got the 7th, the 9th?
Thursday's the only conflict I've got, but it's a morning conflict, so I can do it in
Okay.
the afternoon late.
Thursday the 9th, you say? Or
10th.
Thursday the 10th.
How's Thursday, the 10th look?
Afternoon's good.
Okay, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock?
I think last time we tried to make it at,
We did
3.
Three's
Three to
better.
3.
Okay, that's even better.
Yep.
So, okay, so we'll go for February 10th, 3 PM. And does everybody have the email that Maria had sent out previously on what we had included? If you don't, let me know, and we can get that to you.
we send out, I think the most up-to-date one should be what you've got, because that was sent back in January, but.
Right.
But if you need it again, just let me know.
Okay, the second item I have is our airport manager contract. We had gotten a copy of what the city manager's contract is, and we have gone in and modified that to match up with what our airport manager contract should look like. Maria has gone through that document and, just some verbiage changes. There were some references to some city ordinances, obviously, that city manager's contract had in there. So that's been amended. And what we're going to do is take that to Jim Taylor, our attorney, to have him review it from a legal standpoint. If you will recall, when we revised our bylaws, that we included the airport manager position and that she would be under contract. So that document is being prepared and we'll bring that back to the board. So basically an information point that I want to bring to you, and when we have the final document, we'll get that emailed to you for your review. All right, any questions on the 2 items I presented? All right, moving on, we're going to jump down to airfield update. Mr. Fryer.
Okay, I've got some things I'm gonna bring up, and then I'm gonna yield to Mr. For some updates. Luke and I have been working on the exterior hangar lights back in the T hangar area. There's, I don't know, what do you think, 80% of them were burned out? Or, well, a good 70%. So he has made headway on that, done an outstanding job. We have illumination on most of the hangars, but we still have some more to go. We are in the process of converting those from metal halide, and I don't think there's any high pressure sodium. They're either metal halide or already LED, but we're converting those to LED with great success. Keystone Plumbing, Sam Nadal, I think is the way you say his name. He came out and did the scoping. So I was talking about, I think last month, on the east side of the corporate hangar back there on the back side, I've known for a while that there appeared to either be an underground bunker or there was a septic tank system there. So it did turn out to be a septic tank system. And he scoped that thing. He's got an amazing piece of technology that goes down and can tell you how many feet he's in from the entrance point. And so the deficiency he found, and Chad, you may have to help me with this, but for lack of a better word, I would call it the macerator lift station tank. Does that sound proper?
Sure, a lift station, yeah.
So a lift station. So the pipe comes down to there. There was, believe it or not, a pump put in, but it never got wired. It never ran to anywhere. And over a period of time, he wasn't sure whether they had the whole weight of the pump suspended on PVC. But anyway, the pipe comes that should go to the septic tank now comes down like a bent fishing pole with a heavy fish on it. And the sump is at the very bottom. Anyway, I think the estimate he gave us, just to be safe, he thought it would be more around $3,000. But he gave us a quote of, was it $4,000, Maria?
believe so.
Wasn't it? And he said if he can come in under that, he will do that. But I just told him, I said, with everything going on with the board right now, I think we'll push that down the road just a little bit further. But I told him I hope that maybe by June or something, we could take action on that, depending upon our bottom line on the spreadsheet. So, but anyway, it is a viable system. He looks like the drain field is still good. There's some light root in there. It's probably just coming from grasses that would have to be cleaned out, but he can get that system up and running, and then we could have restrooms in each one of the corporate hangars tie in without much effort.
Are they being served at all now?
No, there's no restrooms in that building. The closest one would be on the south end or the, so, and it's not like a big deal, but if you had a corporate client come in there, or we do have some people that have some interest in there, one of them is a flight school, they'd like to build at least a little area with, where they could have a restroom facility right there, not have to come all the way to the FBO or go to the end of one of the T hangars, so. Anyway, that was good news. There's gonna be a little bit of money, but based on what we just paid for this septic tank, that tank down there, what did he tell us? He thought that tank down there was huge, didn't he?
Around 1,000 or 1,500 gallons.
Yeah, I think he said to put in what's already there, if they were starting from scratch, you'd probably be looking at like 19 to 20,000. So for 3,000 to get it going would be a sweet deal. But we can look at that a little bit later, so. I told y'all last meeting we had taken delivery of, we talked about the Kubota tractor. Now we have taken delivery of, for lack of a better word, a 12-foot landscape trailer with a 525 gallon poly tank. So I plumbed that out last week to work with a trash pump that I can run for fire hoses when we're doing stuff. He just used it today too. We've got it plumbed where you can hook the pressure washer to it. And so far it's working real well. So we have that now. So that leaves the side-by-side diesel Kubota, UTV or whatever you'd call it. And we're still waiting on that 20-foot bat wing, but we were told the 20-foot bat wing was an April delivery timeline anyway, crossing our fingers. So.
And just to remind everyone too, all of this equipment fell underneath the grant from FDOT that we had put in 5 years ago, literally, because it's a 5-year program that we're on. So it finally came around to where we could have access to those funds, and thanks to Ms. Whitney and FDOT for making those available, and thanks to Mr. Fryer and Luke for purchasing all this new equipment, and it's going to be really beneficial.
Toy store, no thanks needed. We've had a ball.
Christmas.
Yeah, just wish they were at my house.
Yeah.
Okay, boy, we've been jumping through some hoops trying to find the manufacturer of the fire water tank on the fire protection system, but Maria, finally, we've called all kind of different entities, and I think it was the Clay County Fire Chief, or what is that? So he found some drawings, and he sent them over in a PDF format, I think. So I've got to take them up to Stark Office Supply and have them blown up into bigger prints. They're just in an 8.5 by 11 format. But anyway, we do have that now, and I believe, was it Columbia Tech Tank or something like that? We did find a manufacturer for the tank. So the benefit of that, by finding the manufacturer, is I was told by Bender Molen,
Modlin,
what is it?
Modlin.
Modeling. They said without knowing the manufacturer, whoever does it would probably be going through with a fine tooth comb and really wringing us out on it because they wouldn't know any specs. But now that we have the drawings, we think it's gonna save us some money. So we haven't gotten to the fire inspection point yet, but we're making headway. We're making headway on that.
Are you trying to increase the capacity of the tank, or it just needs to be serviced or certified?
No, we're just looking for, I guess, erosion or wear down
It
or,
was installed in 2007, so we just felt that how it's been this long, and you can attest to it, I think you probably were out here at the time it was installed with chip wear, it's just time for it to be inspected.
we want to make sure the gauging of the tank is not, it may need recoating. I don't know if they'd do like an epoxy coating in there or something. But you can look at the outside and see the paint's fading, and it has no water constantly on it, so you can only imagine with the water in there all the time. So we are working towards an inspection on that.
Which tank is that?
It's over by the Beacon, it's that big tank, I think it's 20,000 gallons or thereabout. Did it say on the prints? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
It has the head pressure for fire.
I'd be interested, it seemed like I recall it was 23.5, just from history, but it'll be interesting to see the drawings, I'm sure have that volume on there.
Yes.
When you go to print off the drawings, see what the scale is, and then that way when you print them, it'll be printed out to scale as well.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna, they offer almost blueprint size, which is what, 24 by 36, but do you think 18 by 24 is okay for what we're doing?
That's why I was saying, if it says what the scale bar is, then you'll print it off to scale, and you don't have to make a conversion.
Okay.
Otherwise, your scale on your sheets won't be represented.
Okay, look at that. Remind me. Okay, so we met with Herb Horn 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half
And a
ago?
half ago, I think it was a Monday or Tuesday.
He wanted the February 1st start for the two corporate, floors we're gonna do. We told him it just doesn't look feasible. Luke, myself, and Marie went in and looked, and the room, the classroom and the offices that Velocity put in there were not screwed together, they're nailed together, probably with nail guns, and for instance, the second floor joists appear to me to be 2x12s, they're enormous boards. Demolition is not gonna be quick on that, it's a lot. So Herb agreed to a March 1st start point, and he would, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he want to do them simultaneously? That was his preference. So it'll cost him less money and he can do the project faster. So Maria's been in touch with Velocity. I don't know if you did get a primary contact back, but you haven't gotten any secondary responses or?
No, so he's saying he was gonna try and get a crew out here to start dismantling and pulling all the pieces out of there. I think we took pictures of it, there's 2 Humvees that are in there, large corporate or commercial refrigerator, the 2-story fixture with stuff that's in there, classroom pieces.
There's electrical, HVAC have to be disassembled.
Oh, there's that large metal
Yeah, it's like an ammunition vault or,
container.
yeah, something.
So he had mentioned that he may need a place to locate those before he can actually coordinate to pull them off site. So I just asked for him to get back with me and we could find a kiosk to place those, just to get everything out of the hangar, so Herb can start on the demolition of the concrete. I've not heard back from Rob since then. I've sent him a couple of emails telling him March 1 is the exit date. I believe he had staff out here on Sunday, according to some of our tenants. They saw them pulling.
Well, I went in there today and there's not been a piece of dust moved in there. They must have just came and looked at it, but.
Okay,
So it's Velocity's responsibility to remove all of that furniture of sorts, and then
Yeah.
the building structure inside, it's almost like an apartment building inside of a steel building.
My email to Rob, which Rob knew this years ago when he came in, was that because of the condition of the hangar, we were not able to lease it as a aircraft storage. So I said, if at some point when this litigation is over and done with, that's when the lease will end. So I had sent him an email after our last board meeting, just to let him know that we'll be starting construction on it. And so once he pulls everything out, that means that's termination of his lease. So,
Okay. Is there a fee associated if all that
well,
stuff
that'll
can't be
be,
removed by the March 1st deadline?
that'll be my next email, if he doesn't respond, is we will dismantle everything and then charge him accordingly.
The Humvees really look like one of them, isn't that glass on those things 1 inch thick, or would you estimate? There was a round went into one. It didn't look like it made it through, but they're really rough. One of them's got a flat tire. But even in the condition they are, I would say we could put a lien on those or lock them down somewhere. If we have to pay for demolition, I think that they'll want those Humvees back, so. I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that.
Yeah, me either. It's just,
They've got to get it done.
the reality is we've got a March 1st deadline with a contractor that's trying to take action on resolving this issue. So obviously we've got 26 days or so, 26 days left in the month.
If the Humvees, if Luke can get the Humvees running, we could hook both of them on there simultaneously and we can get the room down, I believe. That's just a guess. I can't guarantee that, but yeah, that is.
A concern at
That is a
least.
concern. It's a liability to us right now, so. Okay, the roof has been completed, as you've seen, on Wayne's Retreat. I thought I told the guy brown, but it came back in galvanized, and it is what it is. It'll reflect more heat, so it'll be good. You mentioned a gentleman to me that was a concrete contractor, no relation to you, of course. And I've contacted 2 others. We've got 2 of those bids back. The gentleman that you told me or made me aware of sent me a quote in a text, and I said, this is not satisfactory. I need it in a letterhead format. So I'm waiting on him. I texted him again today. However, so we have 4x4s, and they're now supporting the porch area, if you will, or the awning, for lack of a better word. The same gentleman said he would not deal with moving those posts. We would have to get those posts out of the way for him to do the pour. And the other 2 contractors said they would put up temporary posts and then come back and replace the 6x6s. So while I'm trying to keep the bids apples and apples, I don't know if I should put this guy down that says he can't do the post as a no bid and try to find another one. Or I don't know, and Ms. Hitt and I were talking about it. I don't know if I can call it a no bid and say I got 3 bids, but one of them's a no bid because he can't do the work the way we want it.
Well, it would be considered non-responsive.
Non-responsive. Can I go forward with the 2 bids I got, take the lower, or do I need to go seek another 3rd bid? Where do I end it?
I believe that you can move forward without getting a 3rd bid. But just out of curiosity, is one of the other 2 Brown?
No, I don't know what Evan had done some work with.
Evan Douglas,
Over at the RV park.
he's done work for us here in the past.
The other one was Aaron Weber with Handy and Moore.
Okay,
And both of those guys' bids are amazingly close.
right.
And then the 3rd bid is lower, but the guy says, I won't do the post.
Were there line items for the post, or was it a lump sum bid?
It's all together because you've got to move the post in order to pour the concrete.
Right, I mean, I would agree with Mr.
agree that's a
Corrigay, it's a
For
non-responsive
the
bid. because
specifications.
that's what
If
the-
you needed one more, Maria, we could call Mark Williams, that did our signs, some other stuff.
They do concrete.
The city has used Brown over the last,
Paul Brown?
yeah,
Okay.
and he's always been
Yeah,
very satisfied.
I've used Paul myself, so I didn't know if he was still in business. So Mark, and what was the other?
Williams.
Williams. Okay, I'll try to go ahead and work on that this week and see if I can get one of them from a 3rd bid. And then we should be able to proceed on that. With that said, Right now, if I were to guess, we will have spent just between the roof and the concrete about 11,000 by the time it's said and done, so that'll leave us about 4,000 for the siding and the painting. I ultimately would have loved to have gotten screen, but we're not gonna have.
For a later
enough for
date.
that. So, but we're gonna have the main crux of it done, I think, here pretty soon, so very pleased with
I
that.
think the building preservation part of it was the most important part, and that's what we'll be able to accomplish this quarter perhaps.
And they did find a couple of panels of rotten plywood. They went up and replaced that. I think they had to scab, one piece onto one of the trusses, but they did a really good job. And, that roof ought to be good for 40 or 50 years. So, yes, you're right. We've saved the building. Now, hopefully, we don't have somebody who wants to come put a corporate hangar in there next week and then tear it all down. I'll wait till I get the concrete before you tell me.
Or just attach it to the unit, you get the retreat for free.
Yeah. Okay, and then, on the Ford tractor, I've tentatively got it sold. As you know, we sold the bush hog. We got, money for that. We had sold the old diesel Skag. Now the Ford tractor's about to go. One of the things on the tractor, I'm a little bit disappointed because I thought it'd be worth more, but what we were not aware of until one of the people that looked at it found a piece of putty or something on the side of the block right where the head bolts onto the engine block. And then a second guy found it and a third guy found it. So I've got it sold to a guy. It's a little bit less than I want, but it's still a reasonable fee. And I'm still working on the van, but the problem we're having is Maria's got a question into our attorney. We can't get the tag office because we're not listed in SunBiz. None of us are allowed to sign the title. So we've got to do some research. I don't know, when you sold any vehicles or through your auctions at the city, who at the city was able to sign? Are you listed on SunBiz?
Yeah, well, no, I'm not, wasn't listening to Sundays, but
The
I,
city's not, that's what I'm not sure. They've done it for us before when we had to get tags for our courtesy car. So I just think that they keep forgetting that municipalities are not on SunBiz.
right.
I think we should just have you sign the title and take it down there and then see what happens. I don't know, but anyway.
Yep.
So that kind of took a backseat, got held up. Luke and I cleaned it up the best we could. There was an ant farm in there. We found rats that had been living on top of the engine. But surprisingly, they didn't do much damage, so we're working on that. And I'd like to yield to Luke and let you tell you what he's done as far as the jet fuel pump, the motor, and some cleaning and inspections that are coming, if I can yield to him.
The Abacon contacted me last week and said that the new jet fuel pump and three-phase motor had come in and they were ready to install it. So they came out the next day, I believe it was last Thursday. And they installed the jet fuel pump and motor into the system, leak checked it, and everything is good to go. And it's a whole lot quieter than the old one that he took. We still have the old motor, looking into options about getting it possibly rewound as a backup. If that's cost prohibitive, then we'll go from that point. But he took the old pump, and they have a rebuild kit that they also ordered for the old pump, and they're gonna rebuild it and then freight it back to us, and we'll keep that in dry storage as a backup in case something ever happened catastrophically with this new one. So the total cost for that one, for the parts and labor to do it was $5,118.64, all total. So that invoice is in. And there's a couple things coming up. This Friday, we have a annual fuel audit inspection from Titan, where they go over the whole system and make sure everything has good integrity, that we're keeping our records the way we should, that the whole fuel farm is up to par for the right quality control that's needed. So they're gonna do that, but they don't do any cleaning services or other work on it. Every year, aside from Titan, we have Abacon come in and do an annual inspection and preventative maintenance on the system, which includes the required fuel filter changes on the Jet A tank, the avgas tank, and the avgas self-serve cabinet, and both fuel trucks that we now have. They have sent me a quote for that entire inspection and filter changes, which totals out for all of that work to be done at $8,074. It's a lot higher than what we were expecting. 3 years ago, it was almost half that. But we did add another refueler truck for Jet A last year. But even then, with that cost added in, it shouldn't be this high unless you factor in major inflation. So I'm gonna contact them and find out why the change and see if there's a possibility Titan could do some of the work for us.
Is this something that we need an outside vendor to do, or is this beyond your skill set?
Way beyond.
Understood.
And to do filter changes, we could do them ourselves, but to have that certified placard stuck to the side of the tank
Understood.
for Titan to look at and say, a certified company did this, that's way better. And they will recalibrate the high level alarm shutoffs, they'll recalibrate the tank level gauges, all of that is included in it. There's a lot of work they do and it's good, but, yeah, this is a little outside the scope of me or most other guys that have worked on it. So that's something that is really a necessity. The filters have to be changed.
Definitely.
The calibrations have to be done, but I'm gonna check in to see if there's a way to save us a little bit.
That's an annual or a 3-year maintenance? Annual.
It's an annual.
Okay.
The other thing is the jet fuel tank has not been cleaned internally in years. We don't have a record of when it was last cleaned. The avgas was done, what was that, about 2 years ago? 2018?
18.
2018 it was cleaned. The jet fuel does not, so I requested a quote to have that cleaned. We're starting to pick up some particulates in there, nothing getting through the filters, but just wanted to get it cleaned with the amount of volume of fuel we're running through it. They came back with a quote to clean it and inspect it, make sure the epoxy is in good shape, and if there's any repairs, that would be on top of this. But the quote to clean it and inspect it would be $3,368. So I have not signed or sent that off yet. It's still under discussion as to when it can happen.
Both of those line items, excuse me, like both line items are much higher than what we have budgeted for. I think it's obviously it's a necessity. That's our cash cow there, especially for the Jet A. So, we'll just do an amendment when we do our budget amendment in June.
Yeah, we've got to keep those items, those filters, that maintenance. We've done it, and I think what we did, I know in budget time, I think we did the 3 or 4% because we knew things were gonna go up. Didn't know it was gonna go up this high, but it's part of doing business, and like you say, that is our main revenue source right now with the Jet A. And thanks to you and Scott for the new pump and the new motor. And then having,
I can't take credit for that. That was his, and I want to commend him
hey, exactly.
because if we lose that fuel farm, we don't sell any jet fuel, and if we don't sell any jet fuel, you don't get your check. So,
Yeah, and we have a large tenant over there with some big airplanes that are gonna be really,
How many?
go somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
they could go somewhere else.
yeah, they would have to go somewhere else, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm glad we have a new pump, new motor, and then we're taking the old one and see if we can get it rewound as a backup, and especially with them rebuilding the pump for us, having that as a backup. That's just good common sense, and thank you, Luke, for
That was a brilliant.
taking that action and bringing that to our attention.
So just the sequencing of this, do we anticipate having the tank cleaned and resurfaced and then replacing the filters?
They are two separate items.
Correct.
The filter, as soon as they get the filters in, and they can do that without having to empty the tank.
Okay,
So the annual inspection, if you will, that Abacon does, they will come in and they will inspect it, calibrate gauges and meters, and change the filters. They can do it all in one day.
okay,
The tank cleaning requires us to empty the tank completely.
Sure.
Close. That can be a separate issue. We've got to kind of schedule about a 2-week window that if they get in there and find out that there's damage to the epoxy coating, to repair it, it'll have to be empty and stay dry for about 2 weeks.
so then we would just be the tankers that would provide Jet A, that would be our source of fuel.
Only source of Jet A we'll have on site will be the 2 trucks.
I mean,
And-
tanker truck.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because what we may have to do, and we found out it wouldn't be very cheap, but we may have to bring a third tanker in
Right,
here
temporarily.
temporarily to have enough. So and it's a balancing act, I'm gonna tell you, because he's got the flight schedule for them over there.
Sure.
But they do on occasion change and don't give us much notice. Now, that's not, they're not required to do that, but it certainly works better to their benefit to make sure we've got the fuel. And in further education, so you're a pilot, I'm a pilot, David is, but for the benefit of you guys, I don't know if you're aware of this. Obviously, fuel quality control is of the paramount in the aviation industry. You don't want to be on a commercial airliner going somewhere and hear a sputtering sound outside your window. It's not conducive to a pleasant flight. So I don't know if y'all are aware of this. They do something every day. They go out and pull fuel samples. They look at the quality of it. He grades it, and it's not an easy process. You need to know what you're doing. When the tanker comes in, they check the specific gravity based on the temperature and atmospheric pressures or whatever, to determine what we're getting. So this is not something that you can say, oh, we'll do it next week, or we'll do it next year, or we're required to do it, and Titan is our fuel supplier. And I want to add this other caveat is this may end up being a sole source purchase. $8,000 is not palatable, but there's not a lot of companies that do this. He's going to investigate and see if there's others. But the Titan, because we're a Titan fuel dealer, they are going to have some play into this, aren't they? I mean, aren't they going to have at least some portion of an inspection because it's their product?
They will inspect the exterior of the tank. They won't go inside it.
Right, but I'm saying they want to be sure that we've changed the fuel filters.
Filters are a requirement every year.
Right, so they need to verify that one way or the other, even if it's them driving up here and charging us $500, they're gonna do something to see that we've done it.
Seeing that the filters being changed, not only the cost of the filter, but then the labor and travel to do so is a large portion of that $8,000 cost. That's not something we can negotiate on.
That's what I was asking about the phasing of, and perhaps I'm misunderstanding it, but it seems to me like it might make sense to pump out all of the fuel through the old filters where you might have more particulates, do the inspection on the inside, put new fuel in it on a new tank on the inside, and then put new filters on behind it from a phasing perspective.
It could be, but aren't the filters due by March 1st or
They
something?
have to be changed by.
So it
that's
doesn't
not an
matter, they're on
option.
a clock,
Yeah.
and if we can get it done before then, we could do that.
I agree with.
But if we-
Yes, sir. It.
You're gonna pump the tank dry through the filters, correct?
Well, once I pump it dry there's a remaining 500 gallons that the suction will not pick up.
Okay, so those where your particulates are gonna be on the bottom.
And they will pump that through a separate filter system
Understood.
because they'll send a hose through the top of the tank.
Okay.
And that will be through their own filtration into our trucks before
Okay.
it reaches the truck. So it will be filtered and it won't be going through our filter system.
Yeah.
So that it's not a real issue.
Understood.
And just, again, as a point of information, a few years ago, there was a breakfast fly-in here, and a plane took on fuel, and the pilots left here and went to Alachua, I believe, and crashed.
Williston.
Williston. And so we had to immediately shut our fuel system down because the FAA requires that so many gallons of that fuel be siphoned off and made available for testing, and all at our expense. It goes to a special lab, independent lab. So having all of this filtration and all of this in place it's just mandatory. We've got to do it. It's part of doing business. And so like we do every year, we'll look at what our costs are going to be this year when we do the budget for next year. And in between now and then, if we have to amend our budget, then, I'm sure we're not going to be the only ones in this
It's a cost.
nation that's going to be amending budgets this year because of inflation. So thank you again, Luke, for all of that. What else you got?
Are those filters inside the tank?
No, sir, they're externally, but there's a steel filter canister that's mounted outside that there's 3 of them in each.
Caught on the outflow.
Yeah.
And they get them on the outflow.
And you can recirculate too. You can recirculate the system, so.
Okay.
Now that he's told you he wants to spend more money, that's why I let him have that. Because that's not me spending the money, that's Luke spending the money. I am pleased to tell you, do y'all remember what I said about that scrap metal down there by Wings of Dreams? I would be happy if we got 1,500. We got $7,186 was our portion.
Excellent.
After the contractor did their work.
It has been removed now?
It has all been removed, and it looks a lot better down there. There's still, I've got to go down there and do some pyromania. We've got to burn a pile off of just wood and scraps that were left. But no, we did really well on that. I was pleased.
That is excellent.
And I wasn't gonna tell y'all because me and Luke want a new four-wheel drive Ford F-350. But then we figured out 7,186 wouldn't buy
Oh, I
it.
gotta cut it.
Now I've told you.
It's a deposit, maybe.
And that's all I've got.
All right. Mr. Fryer, thank you. We just appreciate all you're doing out here every day, and I know our tenants appreciate it. You're a source of, contact as well as Luke, and y'all do a great job. Thank you.
And Luke he's been a breath of fresh air, I have to say. He's really been busting his butt.
And Maria cracks the whip
And
over.
Maria too. We ran.
Not an easy pair to deal with on a daily basis, but somehow,
You were furloughing him this week.
I tried, but he keeps showing up, so.
Threatens to dock me annual leave when I don't get here on time. I said,
So now I understand that clause in your contract that you added about dealing with certain, okay, yeah, okay. Now we know.
There's a lot of sitting out their office. Spending that much money.
All right, moving on, Ms. Hitt.
All right, well, one of my items was the fuel farm inspection, so we've got that coming up. We do have, let's see, and Bill obviously didn't mention it, but we do have the RFQ for the engineering services. Those will be due to us February 10th, so next Thursday. I believe we've got it by 10 a.m. So then our review committee will look at those that come in, and then we can take that back to the board for our March meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
How many days did you offer for the board to make a decision on who they wish to select?
I think we were gonna try and meet that immediately that next week,
Okay.
and so that we had at least.
Collectively meet?
Right,
Okay.
so at least we had, a couple of weeks.
When did that go out, Maria?
That went out,
A
I
30-day
don't have-
burn on it, didn't you?
yeah, it was about a 30-day, so it must have been the beginning of January. It was right after our board meeting in January.
Yeah.
We've had a couple of inquiries, and they've been posted both on the FAC website, the Florida Airports Council, as well as the local newspaper too. Okay. Clay Day is coming up. If Lynn was here, she probably would have reported on this. It is scheduled for the 16th and 17th. Right now, David and I are scheduled. I think David mentioned that if anybody else, Tony, I don't know if you're traveling to Tallahassee, it should be a good event. We did hear back last week from Patricia Evans that Rural Days, did you attend Rural Days?
Last time I have.
Last week?
No, ma'am, not
Okay,
last week.
last week, this was the first one.
No, Scott was there though.
Scott, okay. Was it 27,
22.
22 rural counties? In the past, it was only like 4.
Yeah.
So I know this year was much, much bigger.
There were about 200 people there
Good-
for the
good event.
reception.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be partnering with the city for our display. We'll have a 6-foot table, and I'll be pulling displays from the firm, obviously us, MHD Rockland, and like I was gonna pull it.
Sports, air ops, we were gonna do an air ops
Right, we'll do a
part.
display with Air Ops, and I think we were gonna try and promote also both the Jeep event as well as the Nitro event too. So we'll be pulling that and taking our courtesy car up. So, did you have a question?
I'm kind of interested in going. I have to see what my schedule allows. I was hoping that Scott would fly up there.
Have you ever
Boy, that wasn't passive aggressive.
It wasn't aggressive at all.
Oh, no.
taken you flying? So you haven't flown aboard Scotty Airlines, have you? Might be a bumpy ride. I know Mr. Nichols did before. I think he
Yeah.
flew up there or whatever, so.
Well, if you decide to come up, let me know so that we can get the reception RSVPs taken care of on the 16th. The reception, I think, is being held at the firehouse.
Well, I've heard today that the venue may be changed.
Oh.
I don't know the details on that, but
Okay.
that's what I heard today. I'll find out tomorrow and I'll let you know.
Okay, perfect.
So if multiple board members show up, that's not really an official meeting? I mean, does it? Okay. Because I might even consider going this year, but I'd be driving.
Well, let me know
Okay,
as well.
okay.
See if there's, whether or not you're just gonna go up on the day of the actual event.
And that's probably what I would do if I go up. It may just be one day. I mean, it's 16th, 17th. Is one preferable over the other?
Well, the reception is the night before the
15th.
first night.
Okay,
And that's where that's where you get FaceTime with the legislators and,
Okay.
get to do the networking and all that sort of things.
okay.
And then the next day out in the courtyard, that's just a cold, windy day is all that is.
Shaking it.
Funny, after all the years that we've been doing it, every year we go, okay, we are not doing this next year because it's just constantly a wind tunnel in there and you're holding brochures down, you're holding the TV straight, everything's just bouncing around. So we got I think it was sitting out here earlier, we got a windsock, it came in. So we're just gonna watch this windsock just go around, but, yeah, we're working on a display.
And I wanted to ask, so you did mention the TV. So I saw on Facebook today, Lake Region Development Corporation's video, which I think is outstanding.
Thank you.
Didn't we vote to do a similar thing like 2,500?
That was gonna be my next, point.
I stole your thunder. I'm
Nope,
sorry.
no, that's okay. I am meeting with Kate Strickland. I keep on wanting to say B-side.
B-roll.
B-roll. So I'm meeting with her on the 22nd, and they plan on being here the entire day. So they're just gonna film. I'm gonna try and get maybe even the aerobatic group that was here today, try and get them out here. Even if there's something going on with Rockland, I'll see if they can do any type of taxiing for us. I really want this to be, as I told Scott, very similar within the same style as far as what the city might be doing, as well as LRDC. So it's kind of the same theme. I don't know, yours is 1 minute long?
1 minute, 6 seconds.
Okay. I think Kate had talked about ours being at least maybe a 3 minute,
Ooh,
2 to 3 minute, maybe not?
probably not.
Okay,
Isn't that where you start losing people's attention or something,
Yeah.
like 2.5,
At
3
4,
minutes?
Yep.
yeah,
Victor, that did our video for the airport.
yeah,
Yeah, 4 minutes is max.
Yeah. 90 seconds is probably ideal.
right.
Have you seen theirs?
Yeah.
I didn't visually see it when we went to the meeting on Thursday night. Audio, I could hear.
It really came out good, I thought. I thought they did a good, and that'll be the same company doing ours?
Yes.
Yeah, the 22nd, I'm assuming she's gonna come out in the morning because they wanna try and be out here all day and capture a lot of different.
So I guess you just answered my question. You won't have that video to put in a loop in time for Clay Days or whatever, but we'll have it in the future.
Right.
And,
If you hadn't seen it, go to the LRDC Facebook page and watch it. It's good stuff.
It
so
is.
it'll be, how does that work? It'll be playing in hotels in Central Florida or tourist areas?
Resorts, hotels, restaurants, and airports.
Do you have to
From
pay-
Orlando to Savannah.
Do you have to pay a monthly fee for them to run it, or?
It's a one-time cost.
Okay,
You'll be getting a $2,500 grant from the TDC, and
Okay.
then we will be paying the other $2,500.
okay,
And it airs for a year.
okay.
And
And then if you want to do it the next year, then you pay
do it, have it redone, yep.
Really good. It's a good
I
deal.
think it could be beneficial. So that's great. That's good.
We did attend, David, Scott, and myself, Chad was there as well last Thursday night, was the first kickoff meeting for the Lake Area Prosperity Partners, which is really kind of an arm, if you will, of the Clay Chamber. The Clay Chamber has so many benefits for a lot of our local businesses, but because of that, essentially 17-mile or 20-mile distance between here and the rest of Clay County. I think that a lot of our small businesses don't feel as though that they benefit very much from it. So hats off to Scott, to Patricia, to Lynn, that putting this together, the Prosperity Partners is really now just for our small lake area businesses, community. And so it was kicked off on Thursday at the Cedar River Restaurant. I think there, we ended up having 60-plus people.
Yeah, so if I can, just add,
Yes.
when we sat down back in December and talked about planning this kickoff event, we agreed that if we could get 30 people there, it would be a success, a real success story. So the day before the event, last Wednesday, we had 72 people registered in advance. Wow. And then we ended up with about 65 there that night. And it was so well received. I mean, you know, there was.
Cold as it was.
Cold as it was. I didn't hear anything critical about it. All I heard were good things. So,
Well, and Scott, too, you know, with your comments about the LRDC too, I think that just really folded everything together, just reminding our small businesses that, look, it's coming. When these lakes start to come up, we already see the residential people, new people who are coming in to our area. When the lakes come up, that's just gonna change everything even more. So our businesses really need to be ready for this. So it really, the timing couldn't be more perfect in terms of having real tools, real people here locally that can help these small businesses get ready and be successful.
Well, I told you, we were discussing it, and, because I was kind of curious about a pipeline update, but I remember back in the late 60s as a kid here going to the Al Banner food store there, and it was funny because I was from Jacksonville. You would never see somebody in a grocery store wearing a bathing suit and have their hair up in a towel. But that's what Keystone was then, back in the day, is we had all these people coming in from, you know, coming from out of town. But they would go up to the grocery store. Well, I mean, that's just the way it was. But you saw people, you know, walking up and down that were from out of town, that were going in those shops like Mallard's and the different places, spending money and shopping.
Yeah.
And so, and Ducky's, yeah. So, yeah, it would really be great, and we look forward to this, whenever this water starts flowing, to see how it's gonna change the dynamics of this community again.
the latest update is August for shovels on the ground.
Okay, that's
And
great.
then water flowing within 18 to 24 months after that.
That'll be great.
Exciting. So it was a successful event. I think our next meeting is scheduled for the 22nd. I'm looking at you.
27th.
27th.
Or no, you may be right.
Yeah, 22nd, and then from there, it'll be the fourth Thursday of every month.
Yeah, because we had to adjust this month because of the answers.
Answers banquet, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a very good event, well attended. I do have an update, or an upcoming meeting that I've scheduled with, rescheduled actually, with John Ward and Brad Witt from Bradford County Emergency Management. I'll be sitting down with those gentlemen so that hopefully here within the next, at least within the next 2 months, hopefully by the end of March, that we pull together our training to refamiliarize all of our emergency management and our law enforcement of our acreage here, our access into the acreage, our updated gate system, and then, of course, the last time we met, MHD Rockland was not operating out of here at that time. So obviously, the platform of the airport has changed immensely, and I think their staffing on both sides have changed quite a bit as well. So we'll be pulling together a training days. I think the last time we did this was probably about 5 years ago. We did 6 different classes over 3 days. So I assume we'll probably be doing that as well. So if any of you want to be involved with that with me, just let me know. So,
This training is for their responses to any incidents that happen on the airfield.
right.
Okay,
So that they know how to access in, if it's after hours, and again, my example, how it all got kicked off was because years ago when there was an accident over at the firm, and when they called up from their cell phone, everybody ran to the FBO. Well, the accident was over there and nobody knew how to get back there. So, and they didn't call us to tell us. So nobody really knew what was going on. And John Ward's like, whoa, we've just identified a huge issue and we need to really get this going. So we created a mapping system, which that'll be updated as well. And of course, now that we're all electronic access now with our updates, we'll get that updated.
If you can find a gate that's working. So. We're still having little bugs with those gates. He always goes and gets them going in about 15 minutes, and I can't get it to do anything. So.
Well, I still laugh about it because it's like we can put a man on the moon, but as soon as it rains or there's dew in the air, the reflectors stop working.
Yes.
Just like boggles my brain. But, yeah. So that's all I have, Chairman.
You had the firm signage?
Oh, yeah, I did. Thank you. The firm approached, I think you were in the office with me, approached us last week and had asked if the board would consider allowing them to put a sign, I guess that would be the west side of Airport Road. Would that be right?
Are we talking about up there? Because I think he was talking about inside the fence.
Inside the fence.
Along 100, so it would actually be on the north side of the intersection. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So right behind, they've got banners up on that corner right now. In fact, I think the Sportsman's Club has their skeet banner on the fence as well. So Bryn was inquiring if they could take those banners off and just put a sign that allows just right above that, was a 6 foot.
I think he wants to put like 4x4s up. Were you in there? And then stretch on an angle a banner up, so it's kind of above the fence line, but within the fence perimeters, the way I understood it.
In the fire lane, basically. On the other side of the fire line or closer to the
Inside the
fence?
And on the tree side of the.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that really isn't, we're not mowing back there necessarily. We're really kind of trying to treat that with weed killer. So it doesn't.
I personally think it would make it look better than just a banner hanging, and no offense to you, y'all have got yours on there too, but, well, it just looks a little better behind there, but.
And I don't disagree. It's just that may set a trend to where all larger tenants of the airport may also be interested in having a similar sign.
And we
So
had discussed that before. I don't see MHD Rockland wanting to promote anything, any signage out there. So I don't anticipate them, but you're right. It could be that Camp Crystal then, even though they've got one right at their road, I agree.
Or the Sportsman's Club. This was brought up a couple of years ago, once before. One of the other issues they're going to have to be cognizant of is National Electric Safety Code is going to require a certain separation because of that overhead three-phase line that's running along there. That's going to be an issue. Now, if they keep it low, but there's still a distance that's got to be maintained. So there's a 10-foot right-of-way also from that center line over. So those are some things that need to be considered and I think before we had asked them to provide us with an actual drawing of what they were proposing, and I don't think they ever came back to us.
No, I think you're right.
and I'm not disagreeing with signage. I'm just saying that everyone should be afforded the same opportunity if they're a tenant in the airport to have a similar sign
Right.
in a similar nature.
Well, and what it did, it brought us back to, okay, well, we didn't, we could put a $50,000 sign at the entrance and have slats with all of the businesses on there. Sure. But of course, that sign's gonna go away or have to be demolished once we decide on this whole.
Well, I think the other thing we need to be thinking about too is once that entrance is going to be revamped completely, so that may change, I don't know if it'd change that fence line or not. That's
I would hope not.
I don't think it would go that far, but again, just more of some of the items that we need to be thinking about
Right.
as we get closer. If they're gonna, I think they should submit us a drawing of what they're proposing, size, location, and then have Luke and Scott look at it and come back to the board.
The easiest way to address the issue of others wanting to do the same thing down the road is if we do decide to approve whatever the firm is suggesting, we just have a memorandum of understanding with them and say, there may come a time when you have to take this down.
Right. And I think he wanted something that was very temporary. I think he understood the dynamics of what was going on up there, so.
Well, I think the other thing that came up too was we were asking about how much, what's that footprint look like? How big's it gonna be? How much of the trees are gonna have to be taken out? Because we still want to allow access for mowing around the fence perimeter, both inside and out. So,
It had to be back, and we told him that, I think, that we still had to get through there with the bush hog. He was very, he came to us like this. I mean, it was like, just whatever you could do, he'd be very happy with. He's not hard to please.
I'll take it back to them and see if they can present us with a draft picture, size, dimensions, location, all of that, and I'll bring it back.
Ms. Hose?
Were they looking at putting up 4x4s and just spanning a banner between them?
That's what I got the impression, like maybe in a triangular, like one on a point, and then two back here in the banner facing a 45 to the traffic each way. Is that what you gathered?
Either banner or
gathered-
attaching it to an actual
gathered a
big
sign.
placard.
Set at an angle in the corner of the fence,
Okay,
and then a 4x8 sheet across them.
okay. It wasn't anything real permanent. It wasn't like a billboard or anything like that. It was just to get a little better visibility. And since we're on that subject, and you and I have talked about this a lot, is Danny Riddick the Bradford County Commissioner for this area?
Yes.
And Scott, you've got a lot of background, and Tony, I don't even know if it'd come into play with you, but is there any way we could talk to him about getting some prisoners or something? I don't know what's happening with the trash out there at 100, but it is
I
getting terrible.
can speak to that. I spoke with Danny Monday,
Okay,
actually yesterday morning, and so DOT has to maintain highways, state highways.
right,
They had a contractor doing it, both mowing and picking up trash. They did it one or two times, and then they quit, literally just walked away from their contract. Danny's been getting a lot of complaints, and so he met with DOT last week, and what they're proposing is trying to get another crew on board. But then the other option that's out there is that the county may receive grant money or funding to hire a couple of more people and equipment to maintain the state roads that pass through the county.
okay.
That's being floated out there as well.
Which is what the city does. We contract, or the city of Keystone Heights contracts with DOT, and the city does the maintenance on the right of way.
But don't they get people from the county jail?
They use prisoners.
Yeah, they use inmates to do that. So I know there's just a lot of discussion going on. Sounds like DOT is just as frustrated because this contractor just walked away. But anyways,
It's the dirtiest I think I've ever seen state road.
I agree.
It is,
And it's not all the
And
way.
bags.
You get past Edwards, it's, I don't know what it is, like a magnetism, or maybe it's because it's nearer the dump here. But this stretch along here just seems to be the worst, for about a mile.
all the way up to about the cemetery, wherever the prisoners kind of pick up,
Yep.
it's fine. And
Yeah.
going into Keystone.
It looks
but-
awful.
And it just is, we've had people fly in that take the car that go into town, and they'll come back and make comments, and it's embarrassing. And as much as, I try and pick up as much when I pull in, I just can't take it anymore. But I don't want our employees out there, because 100, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's dangerous out
I'm
there.
afraid to have our people out there.
I will say that when I spoke with Danny, I also spoke with him about 21B or Speedville Road, and they had an individual yesterday in a truck, one guy in a truck. I don't know how long it took him, but he got all of Speedville Road picked up. So the county has been responding where they can do something. It's just right now, they're just waiting on DOT to come up with a solution. So I was thinking about, could we just pick up from where our property line is there down to the property line down this way at least? We'd pick ours up out there. I know,
That's what Scott and I and Luke talked about, but, poor Luke, you were out there with the tractor that afternoon trying to mow.
Accident.
Because the DOT hadn't mowed and it looked horrible, and then that's
Are you talking about Airport Road or 100?
No, 100.
About 100.
Just picking up the trash along both sides of 100
Also-
between our property
And
boundaries.
that's when those two accidents happened, and God bless, I don't know, I mean, you were shooken up pretty bad. You know, anything could have happened with
There was 8
that car,
cars,
yeah.
2
It could
different,
have hurt him,
3 here and 5 half-mile down the road.
yeah.
Keep
So-
in mind also, when you're out there mowing or whatever you're doing, there's liability attached to that. If you, I mean, we busted windshield or windows in cars before with rocks,
Right.
debris, so you want to be mindful of that.
I know I called DOT last month, got a recording. I left a message about the trash from County Road 18, basically down to 21B. Nothing's happened. And that's why. After I finally spoke with Commissioner Reddick, he told me what had happened and the frustration that they're going through. So anyways,
Well,
All right.
it is what it is. And if you could, Frank, with your people, we don't know who it comes from, so I'm not directing this at you. But if your guys, if they've been down the lake, be sure they're securing their trash when they go down the road, because we find,
Go through this every month.
do y'all? Okay. It's not as bad because Maria will stop, Luke will stop, I'll stop if we see trash, but, the only thing, like I say, I figure here is it's almost like it's on the way to the dump. And I've seen garbage bags fall off somebody's truck and they just keep driving.
We figured, because it was a Thursday morning, you came in, it was about 6 o'clock, and we figured it was right after a Wednesday night Sportsman's Club meeting.
No, that's skeet night.
Oh, skeet night, I'm sorry. What'd you find on Airport Road, right across from the warehouse, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, there was some sort of animal innards, smeared all over the road. It looked like a couple of big possums or something. Probably
Or
bigger
a
than-
deer that they
Or a
just,
deer.
It took me
in the back of the truck,
a couple
and
tractor loads to clean that.
it was
mess up.
horrible, you can still see the bloodstains, it was horrible.
they're still there. All right. And we've already addressed the fuel farm annual inspection that you had under your item? Okay. Anything else?
Can I interrupt?
Yes,
I
sir.
got a text from the mayor, and she's saying that there's no sound on the live stream.
That's odd because Ms. Whitney was able to hear us.
Oh, she called in
Oh.
on something else, so, but we couldn't hear before, because I got a text from Grant, and he said, and then when I went in and just worked with Matt on it, we fixed it, and it said, yes, he can hear it now.
Okay.
So,
All right.
we'll follow up, thank you, Mr. Brown.
Anything else, Ms. Hitt?
Nope, that's all.
Did
All right.
Mr. Brown have any comments from the city?
I just
That's where I
want,
was going.
Sorry.
That's all right.
like we say from the dais, we appreciate you guys. I mean, sitting here, I wish I'd come all the time because, you guys amaze me. I mean, I used to come to all these meetings and stuff, and to know what's going on out here, I mean, this is a jewel of Keystone. And when we get the water in the lakes again, then you're gonna have some competition. But, as a councilman, I appreciate you guys. I mean, y'all are a very intelligent board, and you got a lot going on out here. And, I do have a question about what you were talking about. Is that the barn you were talking about, like a recreational place?
Yeah, it was the old maintenance building before we built the big steel one,
That's what I
and,
thought. I just wanted to clarify.
and that's what we're trying to do, is get it to where it can be used by civic groups or whatever. If somebody wants to come out, Chad hosts his Outdoor Freedom.
The air ops.
Out there for 3
Spring
years
and
now.
fall. Their
We've got a
event.
little kitchenette in it, and, so we, he didn't like the leaks when they're sleeping under their sleeping bags, so he wanted a roof. And then we got the roof, he wanted concrete, you know? No, it is something we want to fix up, and, so a real brief background, I know we need to sum this up, but our Arcadia Airport has a fly-in campground, and that's what we tried to kind of mimic. We'd also like it, because I didn't know this, there are people that carry sleeping bags in the airplanes and little pup tents, and they will fly from airport to airport that will accommodate them, spend the night at the airport like it's their hotel, and go on to the next one. So we've got a little gas range in there, we've got a sink, I've got a little TV in there if they want to watch the local weather. There's ceiling fans under it. So we want it to be a place where either our tenants could use it or, the lady that does our hot dogs is having a class reunion. She's trying to get the Sportsman's Club, I think. But if she can't get it, she asked, could I use that as an alternative? And yeah, there's a fee associated with it, but it's very negligible.
Right.
And it's a place people can come and gather, and it's got some pretty neat eye candy. When airplanes are taxiing by, you can't get this just anywhere.
No,
Right.
that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. We appreciate that. Let me just mention, I spoke with Miss Lynn this morning. She was having an emergency trip down to Melbourne. Her dad is not doing well. So remember her dad in your prayers as you pray. All right, we have completed our agenda, and we will consider ourselves adjourned at 7:23. Thank you.
Outstanding. 25th through